All right, 20 minutes after 9 a.m. Time for us to check out moments in current affairs. Do join us live on our Facebook page. That is Keith and Gessie Radio on Facebook, as well as YouTube. It's Keith Gessie Radio. Check us out as well on the mobile app. You can get that at the Google Play Store. Our mobile app is called the Keith and Gessie Radio. Download that and never miss another second of your favorite programming. We are also available at www.keithandgessieradio.com. That is on our website, where you can get nothing but the best of the best, which is a KNR. This is radio according to you.
We are extraterrestrial. We are KNR.
The ANC in the Eastern Cape yesterday disbanded the Regional Executive Committee of the Amatole region for defying the party's provincial leadership directives and failing to save itself from itself. The ANC secretary, Eastern Cape Secretary Lula Mangukabaitorbi, on Monday, announced that the Amatole regional leadership had been disbanded due to its inability to implement the program of the ANC, and the structures in the region had collapsed. They have been defying the instructions of the upper structures of the party, he said. As things stand, there were only three officials. Of those officials were not working, and they were not working together. The structure is in the position of paralysis. Some of the members of the REC executive resigned. He said 70% of the branches that had been consulted in the Amatole were in agreement with the decision to disband the leadership of the region. The Provincial Executive Committee felt that there is nothing that can be done without the Regional Executive Committee of Amatole. It cannot save itself from itself. The disbandment means that a task team will now lead the Amatole region. The region did not support the current Provincial Executive Committee during the provincial conference, where the Deputy President hopeful, Oscar Mabuyane, was elected as the chairperson. The family of Bafana Sithole from Hoërskool Kriel in Mpumalanga made it clear that they want the school to be held accountable for his death. The 17-year-old boy died by suicide after being falsely accused of raping a fellow pupil. He was found hanging in one of the classrooms shortly after writing an exam almost 2 weeks ago. Hoërskool Kriel has since released a statement on its Facebook page saying that Sithole's death is a tragedy. People should refrain from spreading unfounded allegations. The mother of Sithole buried her son this past weekend, and she is still confused about exactly what happened. His mother, who asked not to be named despite her son being identified, saying her son's death could have been prevented if the school handled it correctly and waited for the police. It is painful because even if Bafana had raped that girl, even if it was going to affect the school, they were supposed to wait for the police. There must be a case opened against Bafana that they take the action against him for. The mother said they were pursuing legal action against the school and the Provincial Department of Education. Two suspects allegedly stabbed a 41-year-old father to death after he attempted to help his son, who was being assaulted at a Mpumalanga tavern on Sunday, the 27th of November. The father's 19-year-old son was beaten after an argument with two men at a tavern in Xanthia near Bushbuck Ridge at about 4 in the morning. The police said the son notified his father, Adolf Zita, of the assault, who went to the tavern to investigate. That was unfortunately the time when he, Zita, was allegedly stabbed multiple times by two suspects who fled thereafter. Zita's son, however, managed to escape and called for help. The victim was taken to the hospital but was later certified dead. Two suspects were hunted down by police and cornered in Bushbuck Ridge. They were arrested and charged with murder. Marvin Ndlovu, 24, and Santos Makonza, 36, appeared before the Bushbuck Ridge Magistrates Court yesterday for Zita's murder. The matter was postponed to the 5th of December for the accused to make a formal bail application. Belinda Mago, the woman behind the racist WhatsApp voice note, has been evicted by her landlord. According to the landlord, who spoke to a publication on condition of anonymity, Mago, who is 60 years old, was served with a 30-day eviction notice on Friday after her identity was unveiled in the media. He said, "I got messages on WhatsApp Friday at 10 a.m. of links to a story about Mago that she did. After I read it, I was very upset. I was not happy at all. I immediately gave her notice to leave my property. I do not want to associate myself with a racist. We do not want such people here, she said. Mego lives in a plot in Patfontein, Ekurhuleni. He said Mego was not happy when she received notice. She said she was sorry for what she said and she was apologizing. I do not tolerate such behavior from her. She's a single old lady who is unemployed and thinks she has mental issues. She says without the consequences. The landlord said Mego has been living alone on his property for 5 years and owns 2 pit bulls. Now, Gauteng police spokesperson Brenda Muridili said that the criminal injuria case was opened on Friday at Boksburg North Police Station and transferred to Patfontein Police Station for investigation. Mego's voice note was shared on WhatsApp group for pitbull owners who called Pitbulls Be My Voice on Monday morning. The group has over 300 members from different races across the country who were left in shock by her racial utterances. In the voice note, she could be heard to say that black men were worse than pitbulls. Ban the black man, they rape, steal, kill worse than any pitbull could, and they get away with it. Ban those who are making the laws, ban Ekurhuleni, ban the black man, call all black women and cut out their uteruses and ovaries that they cannot procreate because they will all turn out the same because they are all the same. Kill them, shoot them, and get rid of them because they are the problem, not the pit bulls, not animals. God created animals. Who created the black man, she said. Do you think God did that? I don't think so. That's just some of what she said in that voice note, which should give you a pretty good idea why the landlord made the decision that he did. The Azanian People's Organization and civil society members picketed outside the alleged home of the Benoni woman who allegedly called for black people to be banned. 60-year-old Belinda Mako was arrested on Saturday and released on a warning after her voice note went viral. Speaking outside the home where dozens of people gathered, quite simply, we had to come here to help Belinda pack. Absolutely. She has no leave. She has no place to live in South Africa. She has lost her right to live among us. Kena said Mako was intentional in what she said in that voice note. She was passionate about killing our people. The person is damaged goods. You can't fix that, according to what was said by Kena. 28 now after 9 a.m. On Monday, the 21st of November, the Supreme Court of Appeal handed down a judgment and declared the major medical parole that was granted Jacob Zuma by Arthur Fraser was unconstitutional, unlawful, and irrational, and Zuma needed to return to jail. Now, the Department of Correctional Services had issued a short statement in the immediate aftermath of the court decision, stating its intention to study the judgment. John Matham notes, but has since gone quiet on the matter. He speaks to Professor Pierre de Vos, who says that there might be an attempt to appeal on the judgment in the Constitutional Court. He said that only once Zuma is in jail can he be released on the grounds that a commissioner is empowered to release him for, based on the act. So it will be determined if Zuma qualifies for normal parole, and if he really gets terminally ill, then he might be released for medical parole. In terms of judgment, it's pretty clear that Mr. Zuma has got to go back to jail. Once he returns to jail, adds De Vos, he can only be released on the National Commissioner of Correctional Services believes Zuma qualifies for normal parole. That's going to go back and forth for some time. Janus Wallus won't be headed back anytime soon. Home Affairs Minister Aaron Motsoaledi said that Wallus, the man who killed Chris Hani, has been granted residence so that he can serve out his parole here in South Africa. The Constitutional Court last week set aside Lamola's March 2020 decision to refuse Wallus parole, ordering the minister to release him within 10 days. This has led to questions around where the Polish-born Wallus would go once he was freed, with his South African citizenship having been revoked in 2017. Motsoaledi said that the decision to grant Wallus residence was taken in line with an undertaking that the Department of Home Affairs made during the court proceedings, and it served to ensure that he actually served out his parole, which is 2 years in South Africa. Were he to be deported to Poland upon his release, Wallus would not be subject to the usual monitoring and conditions that accompany parole because South Africa doesn't have jurisdiction there. The state's stance is that in the interest of justice, that he instead remains here. The minister said that against the backdrop of the heinous crime he committed, that Wallus must serve his parole period as part of his sentence here in Mzansi. The ANC has condemned the vandalism of and desecration of the Chris Hani monument. The party is calling for law enforcement agencies to protect the memorial precinct located at the Thomas Nkobi Cemetery in Ekurhuleni and to bring those responsible for the crime to book. The South African Communist Party and COSATU have also condemned the incident. We call on the city of Ekurhuleni to investigate this, and said the ANC's president, Pule Mabe. A year after getting Unathi Nkai fired from her Kaya FM presenter post, South African social media users are calling Sizwe Dlomo a hypocrite and a bully for doing the same thing to fellow radio star Mpho Maboy. And Unathi is using the opportunity to throw major shade at her former colleague. The Afternoon Drive presenter is trending on Twitter after it emerged that he had indirectly contributed to the dismissal of station manager Sibongile Mtshali. This after he complained about Mpho's tardiness on his show, whom Sibongile refused to take action against. Ironically, Unathi called out Sizwe Dlomo last year for repeatedly being late to his show, which followed hers. But it was Unathi who was shown the door following an internal investigation. In a Twitter thread on Sunday afternoon, Sizwe Dlomo shared his version of events in what led to the Sibongile's sacking. According to the radio and TV star involved, a sports presenter Mpho Maboy, who was given a slot on Sizwe's show at the expense of a former employee. Sizwe then explained that he had introduced a daily team meeting 2 hours ahead of the 3 o'clock program. Although attendance was mandatory, he claimed Mpho made it a habit of missing the meeting. So I spoke to her twice on record, and when she continued, I went to her manager for him to address it. She then skipped her manager and called Sbo instead. I then asked, why did you remove the person who was obviously could deliver for someone who couldn't? Sizwe then claimed that HR requested he move the meeting to accommodate Mpho, but he wasn't having it. He continued, I reported that directly to the board, that company and both Sbo and HR. The board launched an investigation. Staff members came forward and testified. I suppose this is the outcome of it. The family of Tsegofa Tsepule said that attempts by her killer to obtain leave to appeal his conviction and sentence were the final kicks of a dying horse. Ntuthuko Shoba was denied leave on Monday by the High Court in Johannesburg, with acting Judge Stuart Wilson saying that there were no prospects of success in a different court. Shoba orchestrated the Pule's murder, and her lifeless body was found hanging from a tree in Durban in deep 2020. She was 8 months pregnant at the time of her murder. Pule's family was visibly emotional, hugging each other following the judgment. Her aunt, Busisiwe Mashiane Zuma, said that the family's reaction was because it had been trying for a few months. It really annoys me, though. I'm done with this. We are trying to close this chapter. It's exactly what he did when he got his evidence, the video. You know, it cut through the wound, and what he's done again, this guy is evil. She said that Shoba is cruel for even trying to keep this trial alive. Can he, wherever he is, let this thing lay? He knows what he did. He killed our daughter, she said. The family is confident that any other court would have upheld the High Court's conviction sentence. The second phase of the Section 194 inquiry into the suspended public protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane's fitness to hold office has gotten off to a rocky start. A 2-week break was meant to be used to prepare for her case and call for the witnesses. But in a surprise move, her legal counsel, Dali Mpofu, brought an application to have the 2 evidence leaders removed. He also wants the committee to rethink its decision not to allow President Cyril Ramaphosa to be called as a witness by Mkhwebane. Whether Mkhwebane's first witness takes the stand on Tuesday depends on the committee's ruling on Mpofu's application to have the evidence leader removed. In sports, Lionel Messi has come under fire in Mexico after a video captured him celebrating in the locker room after Argentina's victory against the tricolor national team. Now, the Pulchi is filmed wiping away a Mexico jersey on the floor with his foot. The gesture infuriated none other than the multi-time world champion boxer Canelo Alvarez, who took to social media to speak out. He says, Messi was seen wiping the floor with our jersey and flag. Pray to God not to meet me, he said. Just like I respect Argentina, you must respect Mexico. The belligerent boxer went on Twitter to say, Also, the Albiceleste star was former player Sergio Aguero and close friend of PSG striker. He said the shirts are always on the floor when the game is over because of the sweat. And then if you look closely, he makes the movement to take it off and accidentally hits it. Maybe a case of over-exaggeration or maybe unfounded reaction. We don't know. But Messi needs to watch his back. Alvarez doesn't play around. Finally, and further afield in our continent of Africa, a Mohamed Kudus brace helped Ghana beat South Korea 3-2 in the thrilling match to revive their hopes of reaching the last 16 in the World Cup 2022 at Doha's Education City Stadium on Monday. It was the first time in history that the FIFA World Cup team like Ghana has been able to qualify for the knockout stages in the tournament. The team has been able to get good results in the last 2 years, but it's not going to be easy. It's going to be good when we're not going to play in the World Cup, he said. We're going to be able to play in the World Cup straight up. It was for the first time that the Black Stars had taken a 2-0 to take the lead, with Mohamed Salisu and Mohamed Kudus scoring the second. But Cho Shae-gung gave the Koreans super hope with a brace in the 58th and 61st minute before the Kudus followed the suit to restore Ghana's lead in the 68th. The South Koreans were not to be denied, however, and Song Heung-min and his teammates began to attack the goal in the opening minutes of the lively, fruitless match against Uruguay. But the 6 corners the South Koreans won in 20 minutes did not allow them to open the score against the Black Stars' defense, which was not very reassuring for the Koreans. On that note, we come to the end of our moments in current affairs. It's 23 minutes now before 10 a.m. More to come as the program continues. This is Moment of Truth.
This is KNR Radio.